to another edition of PittMoss Victory Garden Series. This is our holiday special, and I'm really excited because I got Doug Oster here, the master organic gardener that is fabulous, has been helping me through the whole season this year. And we're doing amaryllis and paperwhites, my absolute favorite indoor bulbs.
First off, welcome to the greenhouse.
Yes.
Next
glorious.
to you is pineapple sage, which was the last thing to bloom in the garden. And I brought it in here because I wanted to see these beautiful red flowers. And even though it got cold,
Yes.
I even have some peppers back here that have survived. And
I was looking at those little guys.
oh, I'll send you a few home.
Okay, good.
Can you still eat hot?
I can still eat hot.
All right. I'm with you on the indoor bulbs because I've been growing amaryllis and paperwhites forever.
Yeah.
And it is very, very easy to do. You know, we picked up these at a local nursery. Now, when I'm looking at a bulb for an amaryllis, that's what we'll start with. I don't like them when they're all the way up here already.
Okay.
I want to just see that bud coming out. And this is a famous variety called Miranda. It's a red flower. And no matter what you do, if you plant this in some decent PittMoss, you are going to get a flower. The trick is getting a flower next year, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Now, I've just got some PittMoss in here. You see I put some water in there. The worst thing we could do is have too much water in there.
Okay.
Again, the advantage of the PittMoss is that it doesn't need a lot of water.
No.
And so we're not going to bury this bulb either. We're just going to kind of put it down maybe halfway. The only thing we can do to screw this up is get this too wet, and it'll rot. And so I'm just going to put it into the... And I love this little pot.
That is adorable.
And I was digging around this morning, like, what am I going to plant them in? And,
yeah.
And we're just kind of gently pressing it down. That's all there is to it.
Okay.
And that's
as simple as it gets.
This is just wonderful for kids.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to have the bud coming up. You can just get the bulb. Always with bulbs, bigger is better.
Okay.
And so if you're out and about and you see this big giant amaryllis, you might even get 2, 3 stalks with flowers.
I've been fortunate enough to have that. And if you're not familiar with amaryllis, they're massive, big blooms that are really showstoppers. I mean, even if you're not having people over this holiday season because of everything going on, it's perfect Zoom background.
Definitely. When I was growing up, my best friend's mother grew amaryllis, and of course I didn't know what they were, but every winter I'd go over there, and in front of their big window there, she'd have 10 or 15 up, and it was every year. And when we get to the paperwhites, we'll talk about them, but then I'm going to tell you how a happy accident happened with my paperwhites.
Okay.
That I'm getting flowers again. All right.
Okay.
Now, I got some paperwhites over for you.
These are little guys.
Now, you actually love the fragrance of the paperwhites?
I, oddly enough, do.
So I do, too. And this is the thing. It's either love or hate for paperwhites, you know?
Yep.
And it's funny because my wife is not a hater, but it's like...
not her favorite.
Right. And so I'll have them in the house, and they'll start to bloom, and she'll be like, what is that? I'm like, it's paperwhites. She's like, okay. All right, we'll do the same thing with these that we did with our amaryllis, and we just look for the bottom of the bulb, which is where the little roots were. And you can put them real tight together.
Okay, I was wondering that the spacing. So I had mine. I have a big, nice bay, kind of bay window, and there's a radiator right in front of it. Is it okay to put a pot like this on the radiator? Is that too much heat?
No, it'll be okay. You know, the warmth on those roots, it'll be fine. There's no messing up paperwhites.
Okay.
And now, so here's the happy accident, Ashley. I've been telling people, and I was taught that after paperwhites are done, we just toss them into the compost. What I did was I had these pots inside. These are from last year. And I just left them here in the greenhouse. Like they were there in the winter, and they're in their green. And I left them in the greenhouse over there.
Yeah.
And one day it rained and it leaked in. And I looked over at the 3 pots, and this one was sprouting greens. And I'm like, well, maybe it'll just be greens.
Yeah.
No.
Look at
It's got some
that.
flowers. And if you look at
beauty.
these, this one has even more buds that are coming.
Yeah, I was looking at I was like, is
And it's
How do you have
they're not all,
paperwhites blooming
they're not
already?
they're not all blooming. Okay, so some of them didn't do it, but here's the trick, and this we use the same technique on these that we use on amaryllis. Amaryllis will bloom for you every year if you do it right. So this is one that bloomed last year.
Okay.
And we're putting it into dormancy, and it's not quite there yet. If you feel how light that is, this has not been watered for weeks.
Oh yeah, this is like a pound and a
you can
half.
see how
is that?
And again, when I have this in with all my plants that my wife can't stand, she's like, "This thing's dead."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, it's not that. It's dormant, like my career."
No.
And so when this finally goes and it all turns brown and it looks dead, we're going to store it for another 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay.
I'll throw them down in the basement,
Okay.
completely dried out, no water at all. It will basically tell you, as these did, when it's ready to come back up.
So it naturally will just start sprouting that green kind of head on it.
We know we did it right if it sprouts up the bud. This is the bud right here.
Okay.
If it doesn't have the energy it needs, which some of these paperwhites don't have, it'll just give you foliage. So, okay, we get our flower, we get it to bloom. Now, when it's done blooming, we remove the flower and we grow it as a house plant. That is the trick to get the blooms again. And so with the amaryllis, with this one, okay, this is last year's. And so if I would have done it right, I would have had it ready for Christmas and for the holidays and everything, but it's okay to get this thing blooming for me in February or March, whenever it is. And so when it has these big, I have one here.
Yeah.
See all these big leaves? That's what you're going to get after it's done blooming.
Okay.
Okay, and you just let this go. This is what gives the energy into that bulb. We need to feed the bulb. Right now, they're grown in a way, both of these. They have everything they need. That's why we just have to put them in here. You could even just put them in pure water and they would do their thing.
Sure.
I want to grow them in the PittMoss because I want to get reblooms.
Yeah.
And so we will take care of it as a house plant all the way through until we get to this point.
Okay.
So we're a year passed, right? And now this guy, which if I would have done it right, I would have pulled him in August. But I just had him on the window.
When you say pull it, you pull it out of storage, give it a little light and water.
No, I mean that at the end. Okay, so I've had it on the windowsill all the way through the season.
Okay.
And actually, I put them out in the garden through the summer, and then I would pull them out of there in August.
Okay.
No water, no fertilizer.
Until you see something like this pop up again.
Right. And we'll just start again, and you can do it year after year.
Okay.
And with the amaryllis, it's about 50-50. Sometimes it takes 2 years to get a bloom again. But the most exciting thing for me is now that I can tell people about paperwhites, if you treat them in the same way, it's almost abusing them.
Yeah.
And so I had them on the windowsill, just let's we talk, and they were growing in PittMoss, and so they're getting all the nutrients.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And then I just, thinking of discarding them, but I didn't want to throw them into the compost. I just threw them into this greenhouse environment where it was 100 degrees. We had that drought and everything.
Yeah.
And so it was just all we had were dried bulbs. And then with just some rain leaking through, and I started watering the other ones, and here's what we got. We're going to get some, and smell that.
Unbelievable. I know. I do like it. It's like it's not a sweet fragrance at all. It's kind of like more of like a muskier type of fragrance.
That's exactly right. And to me, it smells like those daffodils that are blooming early in the spring.
Yeah.
But with fragrances,
everyone has their preference.
Has it different, and so I'm going to sneak these back in the house.
Yeah.
I like to do like this many. I'll do 10, 15, and then I'll do them again.
Okay.
And so these will bloom for a while, weeks, and then I'll do them again. And now that I know that I can get them to rebloom, I mean, this is just amazing.
Yeah, I've always only done one season with my amaryllis, so I'm really encouraged to, again, treat it like a house plant where you're just kind of taking care of the foliage, let it go into a state of dormancy, throw it in the basement for a couple of months, and then wait for your bud to start popping out and bring it back up again.
And even at a certain point where if you've had it in there for 8 weeks and you look down, you don't see the bud. Sometimes you just bring it back up, give it some water.
Okay.
Boom.
There
they'll
you
come
go.
Up. So,
wonderful. That's so encouraging because these are gorgeous flowers.
And it's a fun project for kids. It's a fun project for a gardener in winter.
Yeah.
Most people don't have all this to take care of.
No.
So inside, this is just wonderful to have flowers.
Lighting needs. Do they need a ton of light?
No, just on the windowsill is fine. That's
See,
all
that's
they
key.
need.
That's key. If you just have a windowsill, you can get, again, those amaryllis are showstoppers.
I can see you there. It has on the radiator. You're having a little cup of tea.
Yep.
Your husband says, "What smells in here?"
Not me today, honey. It is the paperwhites.
And then next time that we get together, I am super excited because we're going to do something called microgreens. This is the
I love microgreens.
easiest thing in the world, and you can grow these little microgreens right on the windowsill
Yeah.
and do it all winter long, and you're getting a highly nutritious, sweet, tender little green that you're going to love.
And they can pack some flavor too, like
there's no doubt about
mustards
it.
and things like that.
I'll give you a little hint now. Radishes. I love the little radishes. But
We know you're a radish guy, so I'm excited.
I actually still have some big radishes out there.
No way.
In
Okay.
fact, next time we get together, we should go out in the garden too and show everybody how all the stuff that we planted in the fall.
The winter, the cold crops that we're doing. Okay.
I'm picking for a salad tonight for a friend's birthday. I'm making dinner for a friend tonight, and I'm picking out of the garden.
It's okay. It's December 4th. That's crazy. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to pick up your amaryllis, paperwhites. You kind of see them everywhere this time of year, but we always encourage you to go and support a local nursery.
Definitely.
And again, you get reblooms. It's so exciting. So until next time, we'll see ya.